live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
Thanks for joining us on 2 News Live. I'm Brian Schnee. It is Thursday, September 7th, going in depth tonight on yet another evening talking about an ongoing case that has not only gotten a lot of attention here in Utah, but really across the country. The popular YouTube vlogger Ruby Franke and her friend, perhaps partner in crime, perhaps? We'll see what happens tomorrow. Jody Hildebrandt, they will make a court appearance tomorrow after their arrest last week. We're going to dive into this and go in depth on this coming up in a few minutes. But first, let's get your headlines that you can find right now on our website, KUTV.com. All of these stories are there. It's been nearly a year since the old Sears building in downtown Salt Lake City was demolished. Intermountain Health has plans to build a hospital on this site. For a while, I think they were calling this a lake because it was filled with water. However, they say they've been waiting on what the city will say to their proposed zoning changes. Plans will be presented to the city council at some point in the future. Also in your headlines tonight, some news from Utah's Capitol Hill. Utah State Senator says he's done. In his letter to Senate President J. Stewart Adams, State Senator Jake Anderegg said that he will step down October 15th. Senator Anderegg says this is to focus on his family. Google has reached an agreement with several states, including the state of Utah, to settle an antitrust lawsuit. Now, the lawsuit accuses Google of non-competitive practices and inflating the cost of in-app purchases, those that you make on your phone. Also in your headlines tonight, environmental groups now suing the state, saying government leaders haven't done enough to protect the Great Salt Lake. This lawsuit calls on a judge to order the state to release more water into the lake. You may remember the lake hit a record low in the summer of 2021. Obviously, with the water year we've had so far, lake levels have risen a bit. As we go in depth tonight, you can always get in touch with us during the show. It's very easy to do. You can use the hashtag 2NewsLive to join our conversation. You can find us on all the socials, right? Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Sorry, is it called Twitter anymore? Let's call it X for the sake of our program today. You can send us a direct message there to weigh in. Tomorrow, a YouTube vlogger, a Utah YouTube vlogger, and her business partner will be in court for the first time as they face charges of child abuse. Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt will have their initial appearance in Washington County after they were arrested last week. Just today, 2 News obtaining this 911 phone call from a dispatch center in Washington County, a neighbor calling for help after a child who said they had come from Jody Hildebrandt's home showed up at their front door. Take a listen.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help. And he's said he just came from a neighbor's house, and we know there's been problems at this neighbor's house. He's emaciated, he's got tape around his legs, he's hungry, and he's thirsty. And he asked us to call the police. So he's very afraid.
Down when talking about the dispatcher about the condition of the boy, the call roughly 10 minutes long. At the end of the call, police and an ambulance arrived. Let's continue to go in depth on this now. Amanda Gilbert also listened in on those 911 calls along with some other audio from that day. She joins us now. Amanda, what did you hear that day when you were talking or taking a look at some of these calls? This is about a week ago now, so which calls were you listening to?
Yeah, I listened to audio in Washington County. This was police dispatch audio, kind of conversations between dispatch and law enforcement on scene. They kind of repeated some of what the neighbor said, what you just heard. They talked about the child appearing emaciated, having wounds that were, quote, pretty bad. And then eventually what you hear in the dispatch audio, Brian, is law enforcement describes going into Jody Hildebrandt's home. That's the business partner of Ruby Franke. And law enforcement describes seeing what appeared to be some type of panic room or safe room that the kids were in. So coming up tonight at 10, I'm going to kind of break down that audio. You'll hear kind of what law enforcement says, what they describe as they go inside the house where the boy, the 12-year-old boy and son of Ruby Franke escaped from. Back to you.
Amanda Gilbert live for us tonight, taking a look at some of that audio, not only that you just heard, but also some different audio from the initial dispatch call out to that home. Let's welcome back in Jake Taylor as we continue to go in depth. We talked about this yesterday,
right.
But talking about this case, looking a little bit further, I'm going to say this. Obviously, we're giving a lot of attention to this here on the local level, given the impact it has, what people are talking about, obviously, on social media. But what is the national impact that we've seen so far in terms of attention to this case?
Yeah, a lot of attention on this case. As we know, it's compelling. I mean, what we just heard, as well as, of course, the background. 2.7 million people at one point subscribed to Ruby Franke's YouTube channel. That's a lot of eyes, a lot of people watching. And so it's gotten a lot of attention. National media organizations, they're paying attention to it. Of course, we are as well. And a lot of people are seeing this case as it begins and as it moves forward. And of course, that has some impact on the case itself as well.
When you talked to Sky Lazaro yesterday, criminal defense attorney who also joined us on the program, what did she say about how this could influence or work for or against somebody when you're looking at a case such as this? I've had the opportunity to talk to Sky about something similar, Donald Trump, media attention. This is obviously a little bit different, but what did she have to say?
So she, of course, is the person to talk to on this point. She is the defense attorney for Corey Richins, who also is a case that's getting a lot of attention, that's from Utah, that's based out of here. She said that in this case, and these kinds of cases where there's so much national media attention, it changes how everybody works in the court. It changes how the prosecutors, how the state do their efforts, and how the defense does theirs. Just with so many eyes focused on every single decision that they make, it makes them maybe second guess or be a little more careful than they might otherwise be.
Jake, we're 2 for 2 here on the same topic on the same show. So obviously, thanks for coming in here. I feel like we'll probably do this again. What else are you looking at as it pertains to this case and the attention that it's getting? You've been combing through some documents. You've been kind of studying this because it is ultimately getting a lot of play on social media, on YouTube, the similar platform where a lot of this comes from. But what are you taking away from all of that you've seen so far?
Jury selection, I think, is going to be the big question. When something has so much attention, when so many people are aware of a case, that's going to be tough for the state, tough for the courts to try to figure out, try to find those 12 individuals who can be part of a jury pool that have been tainted in some way, who haven't seen the coverage, who haven't seen the YouTube videos, and already come up with some opinion of what they feel about Ruby Franke and her family.
Jake Taylor, thank you for joining us. I know you've also been on social media the last couple of days doing some updates and such. If you'd like to see some of Jake's work, you can find it on Instagram. You can also find it, I believe that's on a YouTube short on our YouTube channel, KUTV2 News, Salt Lake City. You can look us up there on YouTube. We're continuing to dive a little bit deeper into Ruby Franke's past interactions with police. There are a good amount of them, and also some of the podcasts that she and her business partner have produced. Daniel Woodruff has been looking into all of this for us. Daniel, what have you found as it pertains to the police presence first at her house over the years? What did you find today?
Well, we found in police reports that she's had a number of calls to homes that she's lived in, 2 homes in particular since 2012. Some of those cases she called police herself, saying that she was being harassed, but one particular case that's really standing out dates back to last September. Her oldest daughter, according to reports, called police saying she was worried about been left home alone for days, and police responded. They were able to see the kids through the windows. They did not come to the door. Police ended up talking to neighbors who expressed concern about the kids, and that incident ended with basically police saying that the neighbors were going to contact the Utah Division of Child and Family Services.
Daniel, it's interesting. You're looking into, obviously, podcasts as well. And these two, Ruby and Jody, they did a lot of video work together, did a lot of work on YouTube. YouTube has since removed everything. It's all gone. Even everything that was linked on Jody's website is gone because it was embedded. But as you looked into some of these podcasts today, what did you take away?
Yeah, there are hundreds of them, so anyone can go and take a listen at whichever one they want. So I certainly didn't have a chance to go through all 200 plus, but they did dispense a lot of parenting and lifestyle advice. It was part of the Connections platform, which is a life coaching thing that was founded by Jody Hildebrandt the business partner of Ruby Franke. We did link to it at KUTV.com. They are up for now. We'll play a little bit of it coming up on 2 News at 6, but again, just advice that you would expect to hear from these women about how to parent your children and how to conduct your life.
Daniel Woodruff live for us tonight here on 2 News Live. Daniel, thank you. We will look for you coming up in 20 minutes on 2 News at 6 o'clock. We've been covering this story since Franke was charged. She was arrested. They both were arrested late last week, so it's been about a week or so. We've got a lot of reporting on this, including the public safety assessment report, including some of that new audio that we were combing through this afternoon. It's on our website right now, KUTV.com. They're working on getting that latest up there right now, so be sure to check it out. Hey, let's talk about something fun. He's out there scrolling his screen. He's on camera. He doesn't even know it because he's not here in the studio. Chase Thomason out there eating a corn dog or trying to pack on little carbs, whatever you're doing out there at the Utah State Fair. I know you're going to give the forecast, but are you having a good time out there, Chase?
We're having a great time. I mean, I've been riding rides, eating food. I had this delicious watermelon drink, Brian. I don't know if you saw it at 4 o'clock, but it was delicious. There's so much to eat, drink, and do. And behind me, if you missed it at 5 o'clock, we were watching Woody's Barnyard. We were racing pigs and goats. There's a lot. So it's opening day here at the State Fair, Brian. Tickets are only $7 on opening day, then it turns to $12, but KUTV has a deal on Tuesday. It's only $2 on Tuesday, so a little secret for everyone that's watching. If you don't have any plans on Tuesday, come to the State Fair. Again, only $2. It goes until 10 o'clock this evening. Friday and Saturday goes until 11 o'clock. Again, there's a whole lot of activities to do. Let's get to your forecast, and I think if you're coming to it's a little warm in the sun, but it's not too bad. We've had a nice light breeze for today, well into the 80s. Now tomorrow's going to be the hottest day in the 90s, and then over the weekend we'll keep those temperatures in the 80s and maybe a few more clouds rolling in Saturday and Sunday, but still dry and warm. Now, put it in perspective though. 1 year ago, how could we remember our all-time September temperature of 107 degrees? We did that 1 year ago from today, but it was quite the heat wave. 7 records in a row, all above 100 degrees. It can happen in September, but we're not going to see that this September, which is just fine by me. Tonight, it's going to be very pleasant. Those temperatures will be cooling off as the sun goes down into the 70s. Overnight temperatures, though, dropping into the 50s and 60s for many spots. Mountains maybe into the 40s. Tomorrow, expect highs kind of like today, but again, maybe a degree or two warmer, getting close to 90 along the Wasatch Front. We'll be in the mid to upper 80s in central and northeastern Utah, but Park City and Evanston in the upper 90s. St. George in the upper 90s as well, as high pressure begins to drift your way. Right now it's centered over New Mexico, but as we go through the weekend, it drifts to the west, but it keeps things pretty calm. There might be a little wiggle or a little bit of moisture sneaking in, but I wouldn't count on a whole lot of rain. Now by next week though, that high flattens and it drops to the south, and we have a weak storm system that's going to draw up a little bit moisture into Utah by the middle part of the week, and we might see a few showers and thunderstorms in the mountains, those pop-up storms, and especially down in southern Utah. Future track though, closer to home, shows those clear skies through tonight and into tomorrow afternoon, so no threat of any clouds or storms. Now by Saturday though, as I mentioned, a little bit of moisture sneaking into Nevada. We could see some isolated showers. That might make it into central Utah Saturday night into Sunday morning. Probably not gonna get a whole lot of rain. Don't change any outdoor activities, but just don't be surprised if you see some gusty winds or a brief shower. SUU at BYU down in Provo, and the weather is looking mighty fine. A little warm though in the sun, as I mentioned, but mid 80s likely for most of the game. Now up in Cache Valley, you have an evening game on Saturday, taking on Idaho State. 82 degrees at kickoff, and then by the end of the game, cooling off and feeling more like football weather as we drop into the 60s. St. George, as we head into the weekend, upper 90s. Pretty quiet until next week. Again, there might be some stray mountain thunderstorms, but your best chance for rain is going to be Monday and especially Tuesday and Wednesday. Bubbling up in the afternoon, temperatures will be a little bit cooler, upper 80s and low 90s. Salt Lake, we're at 91 for tomorrow, and then we're dropping into the 80s over the weekend, and we're going to kind of just put it on repeat and stay in the low to mid 80s for next week. We have partly cloudy skies Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I do think maybe a little bit of that moisture might sneak into northern Utah, so I wouldn't be surprised if we do see some mountain thunderstorms for next week. But a pretty quiet 7-day forecast, Brian, compared to what we've been dealing with really all month long, all year long. Back to you.
Chase Thomason live from the Utah State Fair. Chase, you were mentioning the watermelon drink at 4 o'clock. What was the food of choice today at the State Fair? What'd you eat?
Ooh. Okay, I had some carnita tacos and they were delicious, and also some jalapeno poppers wrapped in bacon, and that was probably my favorite so far. But there's so many options. I can only eat enough and be on TV and run with the pigs, so I had to keep it low key.
Well, luckily there's enough for you to do at the State Fair. You're going back tomorrow, right? We'll see you back there to eat more food and drink more drink and chase more pigs.
I mean, I'm not going to do that for work, but I might be doing that for fun. We'll see. We'll have Sterling at the Great Festival for tomorrow. Again, there's so many things going on this weekend. Again, Oktoberfest, Peach Days up in Brigham City. So, I mean, pick your poison. We'll have fun this weekend.
Yeah, you're right. All across the state, there's something going on. So if you've got the need for family-friendly activities, or just you and the significant other, you need somewhere to go and grab a beverage, there's plenty to do. Chase, enjoy the rest of the evening out there. Looks like a lot of fun, and thanks for joining us here on 2 News Live from the State Fair. I'll be back here tomorrow. I think Chase will be back in the building. We need to get him back away from the carousel, away from the pigs, away from the food and drink. We got to get him back in a suit and tie. Thanks for joining us tonight. We will be back tomorrow for our Friday edition of 2 News Live. If you missed any part of tonight's program, please go back and give it a watch. Please feel free to share, interact on social media, all of that good stuff. I'm Brian Schnee for Chase out at the fair. Have a great night.